What is up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. Today, we're getting into my January 6th, 2023, of course, NCAA Bracketology Predictions. So it looks like now Joe Darty is officially bringing these out every 2 weeks or every twice a week now. So that's good for bracketology content coming soon. The March Madness is going to be epic, but let's dive right into it. Starting out with the bracket watch, the top overall seed here is the number one Kansas right now. First team out, we have Penn State, and the last team in Oklahoma State, who nearly beat Kansas a couple weeks ago. But if you look at the bubble right now, last four byes go to Memphis, Auburn, Maryland, and Illinois. Illinois, man, that is surprising that they're already down there. Last four in, Utah State, Mississippi State continues to fall, Utah, and Oklahoma State. First four out, we have Penn State, Oklahoma, NC State, and Arizona State. And then the next four out, LSU, Texas Tech, Northwestern, and UCF. So anyway, let's look at the whole bracket here. Starting out with the first four, Farley Dickinson up to a 16, and then new to the field at a 16. Mississippi State's going to be dropping down there to the 11. Northern Kentucky dropping down to a 16 of the play-in game, and then Utah State and Utah for that play-in matchup up to a 10. So we have that many automatic bids right now that we need a 10 seed for the first four. Anyway, let's look at the bracket right now. Starting with the Midwest region here. Kansas, of course, the number one team right there. Creighton's going to be jumping up to an 8. We have Nevada, new to the field, at a 12 out of the Mountain West Conference. Ohio State's going to be jumping up to a 6. Then we have Providence jumping up to a 7. And Illinois dropping down to a 10, as well as SIU Edwardsville, new to the field, at a 15. In the West region, we have Arizona as the 1 seed there. San Diego State jumping up to an 8. Michigan State's going to be jumping up to a 9. We have Kansas State jumping up to a 4. Kent State up to an 11. Hawaii's going to be new to the field at a 14. And Kentucky jumping up to a 6, as well as Maryland dropping down to a 10. In the South region, Purdue at the 1 seed there. We have New Mexico dropping down to an 8. Virginia Tech dropping down to a 9. We have TCU jumping up to a 5. Marquette dropping down to a 6. Pittsburgh, new to the field, at an 11. We have Missouri dropping down to a 7. And then Tennessee, at the 2. And then over here we have Alabama jumping up to a 1 there. Georgia Southern jumping up to new to the field at a 16. We have Rutgers jumping up to an 8. Memphis going to be dropping down to a 9 seed. Miami dropping down to a 5. We have Florida Atlantic, new to the field, at a 12 seed. UMass Lowell jumping up to a 13. Indiana drops down to a 6. We have Longwood jumping up to a 14. West Virginia is going to be dropping down to a 7. Auburn dropping down to a 10. And then UConn, after that loss to Providence, drops down to a 2. All right, so let's look at the entire bracket, starting out with the first four here. Mississippi State battling it out against Oklahoma State. With Mississippi State struggles lately, I got to go Oklahoma State in this one to pull off the win. And then Southern, I do think can beat Farley Dickinson. Then we got a matchup between two Utah teams. Again, this bracketology, Utah against Utah State. I am going to take Utah this time, though. Just think they're slightly the better team there. And then Northern Kentucky, I think, can beat Nicholls State. All right, going up here, though, let's get into the round of 64. Starting out with Kansas against Southern. I'm going to have to go with Kansas there. Creighton, I do think, can beat St. Mary's. Iowa State, I think, can beat Nevada, as well as Duke beating Liberty. Then we got a matchup between Ohio State and Oklahoma State. Good game here. I was impressed with Ohio State's just near loss to Purdue. So I'm actually going to take Ohio State here in this one. Never mind. We've seen the first four give a team advantage in the past. If this was just straight up no first four game, I would take Ohio State here. But since it's the first four, if this tournament started right now, Oklahoma State gets that extra game, gets ready. It's statistically proven that a first four team advances normally to the wins at least one game. So I'm actually going to take Oklahoma State there to pull off the upset over Ohio State. And then Arkansas, I do think could beat Indiana. Providence, I think, can hold on against Illinois, as well as UCLA beating SIU Edwardsville. All right, going down here, Alabama, I do think could beat Georgia Southern. Rutgers, I think, can beat Memphis. Although that's a great matchup between those two. I'm going to go through 12/5 upset here. Florida Atlantic, they were just in the first four a few games, or a few bracketologies ago. Now they are in the field here at the 12 seed in their conference. So I like Florida Atlantic as a team right now. They're a good team. And Miami just lost this past week. So I'm going to take Florida Atlantic. Baylor, I do think could beat UMass Lowell. And then Indiana versus Charleston. I do like Indiana, but in 11 seed Charleston, I like more here. So I'm going to go with my second 11/6 upset there with Charleston. Virginia, I do think could beat Longwood, though. And then West Virginia versus Auburn. I'm going to take West Virginia. And then UConn, I think, could beat Colgate. All right, over here, let's go to this region. Arizona against Eastern Washington. I'm going to take Arizona. San Diego State against Michigan State. I'm going to go with the 9/8 upset there with Michigan State. I'm going to go with another 12/5 upset here. Not a big fan of Wisconsin. Iona is a good 12 seed. The Gales, I think that they could pull off the win there. Kansas State, I do think could beat Utah Valley. North Carolina against Kent State. I just don't think Kent State will be able to compete with all the playmakers of North Carolina, although it's been a struggling year. So I'm going to have to take North Carolina there. Gonzaga, I do think, can beat Hawaii. Kentucky against Maryland. I'm going to take Kentucky as the 7th seed. Houston, I do think, could beat UNC Greensboro. Right there. All right, going down here, we have Purdue against Northern Kentucky. I'm going to take Purdue. New Mexico, I think, could beat Virginia Tech. TCU, I think, could beat Dayton. I'm going with the 13/4 upset. Oral Roberts, I'm a big fan of them as a 13 seed. Not a big fan of Xavier as a 4 seed really at all. I know they beat UConn, but I think UConn's a fraudulent team right now. So I'm going to take the upset for Oral Roberts. Marquette, though, I think can beat Pittsburgh as well as Texas over Cornell. And then Missouri, I think, can beat Utah State and Tennessee. The team that in my past 2 bracketologies have made it to the championship game but have not won it. So I'm going to take them to win it. All right, let's go over here, though. We have Kansas taking on Creighton. I'm going to take Kansas in that game. 5 seed Iowa State, I think, can beat Duke. Arkansas, I think, can beat Oklahoma State as well as UCLA holding off against Providence. Down here, we have Alabama against Rutgers. I'm taking an 8/1 upset. I'm going with Rutgers. Not a huge fan of Alabama. They're a good team, but Rutgers, I think that they have potential as an 8 seed. Obviously, beating Purdue Monday, I believe, or whenever it was. That was a big upset for Purdue, Rutgers. And I think that they could do it again here against a good Alabama team. Not the biggest fan of Alabama. And a lot of 1 seeds lose before making it to the 8. So I'm going to take Alabama losing right there to Rutgers. Although I do think that Baylor can beat Florida Atlantic, but I could see the upset there. Virginia, I think, can hold off Charleston, as much as I want to go with my Charleston, but not going there. And then UConn, I think, can beat West Virginia. All right, going over here, Arizona, I think, could beat Michigan State. Kansas State, I think, could beat Iona. Big fan of Kansas State as a 4 seed. North Carolina against Gonzaga. I'm going to have to go with Gonzaga there. And then Houston, I think, can beat Kentucky. So all chalk in that region. Going down here, we have Purdue, I think, can beat a good New Mexico team. New Mexico is a good 8 seed. TCU against Oral Roberts. I'm going to have to go with TCU. And then Texas against Marquette. Texas, they just fired their coach. So I think that if this tournament started now, I think that they would be vulnerable. So I'm going to take the 6 seed Marquette pulling off the upset over Texas right there. And then 2 SEC teams battling it out. I do think Tennessee would have enough there to win that one. Going over here, though, we have Kansas against Iowa State. I'm taking Kansas in that one. And then UCLA against Arkansas. Give me UCLA for a 1 versus 2 matchup. Down here, we have Rutgers against Baylor. Unfortunately, I do think that the Bears would be able to end Rutgers' run. And then I do think that Virginia will be able to advance on past UConn. Going over here, we have Arizona versus Kansas State. Oof. Really good matchup between these two. I'm going to have to go with Arizona, though. I just think they're the better team. And then Gonzaga, I think, can pull off a 3-1 or 2 upset there to advance on past Houston to the Elite Eight. Purdue against TCU, I'm going to take Purdue again. Tempted to go with TCU in the upset, but not going to do it. Don't think that they would have enough there. And then Tennessee, I do think, can beat Marquette. All right, so for a spot in the Final Four, Kansas against UCLA. A good matchup, but I'm going to take the number 1 overall seed, Kansas beating UCLA. Baylor against Virginia. Last time I think these two teams played, and I picked Baylor. Let's flip it up this time, and I'm going to go with Virginia to advance on to the Final Four. Arizona against Gonzaga. Again, last time I think these two teams met, and I picked Gonzaga. Flipping it up this time, let's go with Arizona there. Great number 1 seed. And then Purdue against Tennessee. I'm going to take Purdue. Another one that I don't even know. I'm probably wrong on some of these, but I'm going to take Purdue. So we're going to have 3 number 1 overall seeds in the Final Four. Not normally what happens in my bracketologies, but that's how it shaped up this time. Kansas versus Virginia right here. For a spot in the national championship game, I'm going to, unfortunately, going to have to take Kansas and then Arizona against Purdue. Let's go with the number 1 overall seed, Arizona, to advance on to the championship. All right, so we have Kansas, we have Arizona, the top 2 teams battling it out again in the national championship. I am going to take the team I picked last year to win the championship. It came up short, Arizona. I think that they're potentially the best team in the country right now. They're playing really good basketball, and I think they're a very good team. So I'm going to take them to win the whole thing. Anyway, guys, thank you all for watching this video today. Hopefully you all enjoyed the content. Comment down below your bracketology predictions. Anyway, peace